Welcome to the Emajin Golf Podcast Beyond the 19th. I'm your host Raj Narayan, and today we chat with Darren Thorpe from APR. Darren talks about sustainability and corporate social responsibility and how businesses can embed this into their strategy and business model. This is a great episode, so hope you enjoy. Darren, you just recently joined the Emajin community about, I think, November last year, and you've already been to 3 events and coming to me, very, very involved in the community. And I just thought today, look, fantastic to have you on the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to learning more about sustainability and also about your business. Welcome.
Thank you, Raj. It was great to be here.
Yeah, awesome. So, look, you've been working for 40 plus years. I was going to say 30, but you corrected me to 40. I was going to give you a few decades, 1 decade younger. But you've been working for over 40 years in this space in sustainability and recycling. Let's start at the beginning. I mean, what have you seen in these 4 decades, and how has this industry evolved over this time?
Oh, the changes are amazing. We go back, the history is just I'll give you a brief summary.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back in 1984, my late father and his father and brothers started in the 60s, 70s and 80s of helping the Smorgon family start their paper mill. And there was a job came up for accounts payable clerk, and that was me. So that's how I got started back in 1984. And the changes have been phenomenal. Like that was very mature back in 84. Sustainability I don't think it was even spelt. I don't think it was about. So, we had feast and famine of the 90s. Originally there was 3 players in the marketplace, and then it became 2, and 2 bought the other player out. I went and worked for another company, and then there was times where we would have an abundance of packaging material, and then we'd have none, because it was just feast and famine. It was either go to landfill or be recycled. So, there was no such thing as sustainability and all these things that we talk about today. So, but roll forward, I started my own business in 2002. So that's nearly 24 years this year that we've been on our own, and it's grown and changed dramatically. When we started, there was just me, and now we've got 110 people that work for us. It's a family business. My kids are involved. Kids are really keen to take over and sort of giving Dad a bit of a nudge, saying, when. Which is great. I'm encouraged by that, because then I know they're engaged, right? They really want.
It's such a great, it's such a great thing to be involved in, right? Sustainability.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if you think back 40 years, I mean, probably no one, as you said, rightly so, no one even talked about it.
Yeah.
Even 20 years ago, I don't even remember people talk. As in, people may have talked about it in some closed forums, but certainly not as mainstream as it is today. Today, we always. But I think, talking about the environment, talking about the planet, talking about sustainability is a big thing. More and more businesses are adopting it. Certainly in the large end of town, people are reporting on their, in the annual reports, they have a little metrics about, environmental impact in their thing and environmental audits and so forth. So tell me a bit more, Darren. I mean, you obviously work in this space and you do a lot of deal with a lot of businesses in here. Where is it at the moment? I mean, what do you think? Are we recycling enough? Is enough happening? How do you think we're going? And would you like to see more in this today's economy?
Oh, there's still a long way to go. We do a lot more today than what we ever did. There's a lot more packaging on the market than what there ever was. So, looking at Recycling Victoria, which is one of the regulators, they put out a report that said that, there was 1.5 million tonnes of paper and cardboard put onto the market in Victoria every year.
Wow.
And only 57% of that gets recycled. All right, so 43% still goes to landfill. Okay. So there is a massive opportunity. The only problem is that we don't have the opportunity if we were to collect that, to process it here in Australia.
Okay.
So, or process it here in Victoria for that matter. So we'd have to export it. Like our paper and cardboard that we collect 200,000 tonnes ourselves, and there's about 75% of that we export.
Oh, to get recycled elsewhere?
Correct.
I mean, how expensive is this to be like, I mean, the logistics itself of all of this will be quite complex, isn't it?
It is, but there is a market. We've been doing it now on predominantly exporting since we started. So there is a market, and it's sustainable. It's all about supplying quality. It doesn't matter whether what industry you're in. If you're supplying, quality, you will always outweigh everything else.
Yeah. And tell me about, recycling itself. Like, there's so much talk about using cardboard and using recyclable materials. Everywhere you go these days, you don't get a straw anymore. You get a paper straw, you don't get a plastic straw. Yeah. So I think there's a bit of consciousness, or certainly a lot of noise around it and education around it, where people, even as a lay person who's not involved in the industry, I hear a lot about sustainability, being environmentally conscious. How do you think that's impacting in terms of the packaging materials themselves? Are we using the right packaging materials? What needs to happen, you think, to make it even better?
One of the big things that came out of the demise of the Red Cycle program in 2022 which is all about soft plastics.
Yeah.
Now, we got involved in soft plastics in 2019 because in our curbside business, which is the material that we receive from the yellow litter bin from the residents, a lot of the residents wanted that plastic to be recycled. And we couldn't recycle it in an effective manner. Now, we set up a logistics system through RedCycle, but there was no off-takes, and that's the important thing. Recycling only works when someone makes something from it. Yeah. And no one was making anything at scale from that, and that's why that system collapsed. And that was a massive blow to the industry because everybody was engaged. But having said that, there was only 2% of the market. But it got the airplay as if it was 30 or 40% of the market. Yeah. when it ceased or paused and then ultimately ceased. So we've been working along that phase, and the perfect example is there's 350,000 tonnes of material that's put onto market of the confectionery sector, which is that packaging there, which is a chocolate bar. Now, as you can see inside that chocolate bar, there is a metallised barrier in there to enable the food to be fresh when you open it, so you don't get ill.
Oh, you know what I mean? Oh, this silver thing in here, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
And because it's got that, it can't be recycled in the traditional manner. So there's 350,000 tonnes of that that's put onto the market.
So this is even weighed.
Yeah, no, it's grams. It's grams.
It's grams.
Yeah.
350 tons. It's like
350,000.
No, how many?
Yeah.
350,000 tons.
Yep.
That's like millions of these.
Millions and millions of packages. Oh, and
wow.
If you go to the supermarket, you'll see them in aisles and aisles and aisles of it, and it's not recyclable until now.
Okay, wow.
We have found the solution for
I
it.
see how you got this low carb over here. Well done.
Yeah, did well there. Yeah. Got to do the right thing. But we've found a solution for that, and within the next little while, and hopefully in the next month or two, we'll have our plant operational, and our sorting plant will sort the material that we need, and that will be 20 tonne a day, and then we'll process it through our pyrolysis machine that will turn it back to its original state of oil. That oil through the supply chain will then make packaging again.
Yeah, because oil is what's used to make plastic. Isn't
Correct.
It? Yeah.
Correct. So
and then the plastic goes back to oil.
Correct. So we're going back to the original state.
Yeah.
Right? So we want to get to that stage, and we want to scale that. We're going to announce in the next couple of weeks that we want to scale that to, in the next 7 to 10 years, to up to 130,000 tonnes a year, which is a massive aspiration, and it's a really big call, given that we're trying to get 30% of the market within 7 to 10 years. Yeah. However, we've built the supply chain, and that's the critical part, that there is someone that will take the oil from us.
Yeah.
If I didn't have that, I wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
Because
obviously someone who takes the oil will then make the packaging again, like
correct.
Obviously the parts.
Correct. So around it, and it's taking away the reliance on fossil crude. Yeah.
And is there a way to make this packaging without that inner layer, without that like plasticky layer?
Unfortunately not. They've tried to do it. A couple of brands have tried to make the packaging without the layer, and the food would have a bigger food waste problem than what we've got today.
Does it won't keep it fresh?
Because it's the right packaging for the right product.
Yeah.
And that's the catch cry, right packaging for the right product. People say, oh, let's reduce the amount of plastic. I'm totally on board with that. But when it comes to food grade packaging, you have to have the right packaging for the right product. And this is it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it'll be interesting. I almost have to ask the question: is it better to make the whole thing in plastic? Because then you don't have to worry about the separating.
Yeah, but if you do, you're not going to have the barrier in there because the food going onto the polyethylene will contaminate it.
Yeah,
And that's why the barrier is in there to ensure there's no oxygen gets inside to make the chocolate. So if you open the package and it's white, well that means it's off.
Ah, okay. That's why the
So that's why you need to have
exposed. Yeah.
correct. So that's why you need to have a barrier there, and that barrier is you open a chocolate bar like with the 4 fingers in it. We won't name Nestle, but it's a Kit Kat. But if you open a Kit Kat package, the same thing. They make theirs now from 70% recycled. Their packaging is made of 70% recycled plastic in it.
Wow. So, I mean, you talked a little bit before about only 57% of organic materials or anything is being recycled. So that is really because people are not putting it into the correct bin. Is that all it is? Like we're not consciously recycling the thing, like the products, and we're just putting it into the
Partly that,
landfill?
partly that, but partly because there's no demand for it here in Australia.
Yeah.
So if we had pull-through demand in Australia, it would make things a lot easier. We need another paper mill in Australia, but I don't see that coming in the near future. So there is opportunities overseas, but there's a whole lot of issues.
Yeah.
Letters of credit, shipping, a lot of issues. So that's why it's easy to deal locally. But if there's no demand,
That is very hard, isn't it?
very difficult.
So look, these days everybody's talking about sustainability. Everybody wants to have a good environmental footprint, especially the large companies. But it's also coming to the small end of town. Business owners are reviewing their own operations. How have you created? I mean, you've got 110 staff. You said, how have you created this culture that thinks about sustainability and recycling? And also, how can business owners create that within their own organizations to really assist with the overall footprint that we make as as mankind or whatever.
Sure.
So what can business owners, because the majority of our listeners are all business owners and executives, and what can they do as well as what do you do that we can copy?
What we do is we actually walk instead of talk the outcome. Because if we're walking the walk, we actually do it in our own offices.
Yeah.
We turn around and have paper recycling, we have plastic recycling, we have all of the mixed recycling in through our own offices. So we're actually doing what we say to others to do, we do ourselves. So, and then we look for innovation. Innovation is that drives us, right? Our new catch cry is inventing better futures, because we want to create a better outcome down the track for my children, my kids' children, my grandchildren. We want to create better futures for them, and that's what drives me along this way.
Yeah, that's really amazing. We talk about businesses and adopting sustainability, and I always thought about this is, what is the ROI in that for the business, other than the fact that they're doing the right thing? Mm-hmm. Is there an ROI, or is that the reason why people don't recycle as much, because they feel like this is the more expensive task, or and there's not an actual business case to create that? But what are your thoughts on this, and what do you think about it? Like, I wonder what's hindering people from taking that on.
Especially in the plastic sector, the soft plastic sector, like you have a situation where it is more expensive to buy the resin than virgin resin. Because there's more costs involved.
Yeah, exactly. Because obviously it's gone through a machine, it's been recycled, it's come back.
Correct. So with virgin, it's just extracted from the ground and then just put through the process. Once only. Yeah. With this, there's a collection system, there's a sorting system, there's a processing system, all have costs. So therefore, it adds up to a more expensive product. But it takes away the reliance of the virgin and the fossil crude that we're basically using, which is what the sustainability piece is, because that packaging, we want to turn a chip packet or a confectionery item back to the same product.
Yeah.
And that's where the sustainability. Now, sustainability and procurement, they come head to head. Procurement generally wins because they say, well, I'll take the cheaper option. But you've got to walk it. Like for example, we've just put some wheel stops in every site. We've got 7 sites in Melbourne, and we've put wheel stops in every one of them that's made from recycled plastic. It's cost me more money to do that, but we're walking it. the roof tiles in offices. There's a company called Saveboard that's making them out of beverage cartons.
Oh, wow.
It costs more to do it, but in every one of our boardrooms and our reception areas, we have done that because we're walking it. We're engaging with our sector and I hope everybody does, because then we're getting circularity, and when the sector is working in unison.
Yeah, and to create this circular economy, as you talk about it, obviously there are some regulations in place. Do you think that creating greater regulation or making them more stringent would drive that? So, for example, already large listed companies are, have to report on the environmental footprint. I don't know whether they have any penalties if they don't meet some quota or something, but at least making them explicitly reported creates that visibility and creates, more accountability as opposed with the visibility. So, what do you think is happening in terms of regulation in Australia, and is it likely to change? And will businesses be held more accountable, do you think? I mean, what you saw is going to change it, right? Because we need to make a difference. Everybody understands that. And yes, you can go buy some carbon credits every time you go on an aircraft or something like that. But they don't really, reach the actual things we need to do, like just buy some.
One of the driving forces of this is that the packaging needs to be reformed and needs to be done mandatory. In our system at the moment, there is a voluntary program.
Yeah.
And the federal government have announced last year that they would be looking into it in 2026 to turn it into a mandatory program, where each manufacturer has to put a certain percentage of recycled content in their packaging.
Yeah.
And if they're not made to do it, they won't do it.
Yeah.
But that needs to be a mandatory outcome, and the federal government need to turn around and make, because they're the ones that drive the outcome. They need to make it mandatory, and hopefully there's been some lobbying and within our sector that to get to the minister, and he's advised that this year he will look at that. Now we're nearly into the third month, and we're still waiting.
Yeah.
So, for my aspiration of getting 130,000 tonnes, if I haven't got off-take of that 130,000 tonnes, what's the point in doing it? That means you don't need
You're just sitting there, like, exactly, yeah, you've doing all this work.
You've got to make sure that you've got pull-through, and if the packaging reform is in, they then can turn around and know that the supply chain can make sure that they've got someone pulling it from them. Because we'll take the oil to a refinery, the refinery will turn it into a recycled content virgin resin. That resin will be turned back in through our partners at Tag Leaf. Now, if no one takes it from them, no brand turns around and buys that packaging, it all falls apart.
Yeah, and look, an interesting question here is, say we have regulation and you got to use, I don't know, three parts of your packaging has got to be recycled or whatever the number is. How does it actually disadvantage Australian manufacturers? Because say, for example, I'm getting another product like this and it's coming from offshore and they could use anything at all they like in there, or in the packaging, for example. Well, this will make their product cheaper for me to eat it, because if the packaging might be more expensive than the actual chocolate or whatever, nut bar or something inside.
Yep.
How does that keep us competitive? I mean, absolutely, this is the right thing to do, and we keep talking about this all the time, right? Like, we're worrying about the environment, we're worrying about conservation, etc. And yet, there are big economies with massive populations which don't have that tight a mandate. So no matter how much little Australia is saving in terms of the recycling, what is the global impact on global warming or whatever it might be?
Yeah, well, we've got issues at the moment in not so much the flexible, because that's in its infancy, but in the rigid space, they're having a lot of problems with cheap virgin material coming onto the market here, and it's creating a lot of issues, right? But at the end of the day, we've got to look at, there is always going to be a cost component because there's extra costs, but we need to make sure that we can work out what they've brought into the country through this mandatory reform.
Yeah.
So they need to make sure that if they're going to compete, they've got to pay a premium and to be involved. To compete locally, they've got to turn around. They want to bring their products into this country that has got virgin material. They've got to pay a higher
charge it some kind of a tax or a charge or something like that. So there's a levy or something that they got to pay, so it makes it competitive for both.
Correct.
It's very, very, very interesting. So tell me, Darren, in terms of a business owners in Australia, what can they do? What is it, give us like a couple of things or 2 or 3 things that we can do to support this whole...
Well, everybody needs to do, the last thing we want to do is send any packaging that can be turned into a second life to landfill. Well, we don't want to take it to landfill. Landfills are filling up. In Sydney, for example, they've got no space left. They're talking about putting waste to energy plants in, which is fantastic, as long as the recoverables are pulled off before they go into the furnace.
Yeah.
Because if I take this packaging will be very good for waste to energy because this product burns hot, and that's the best way for a waste to energy plant to get the best economies out of it. You need to run hot, right? But we've got a home for that to be giving it another life. We don't want to turn it into energy and give it a linear life. We wanted to give it a circular life. So I can take this packaging back to this packaging over and over and over again.
Yes.
I want waste to energy to come in because there is so much waste that can't be recycled.
Yeah.
Let's burn that and create energy, which is a tick, but let's not put material that we can give a secondary life through circular economy
Into that first
category.
Yeah, that's really interesting. There's so much more to go, isn't it?
We've got a long way to go. Long way to go. We've come a long way though. As I said earlier, in the 90s, it was just, the packaging that was being put onto the market was a lot smaller as well. I spent time at landfills pulling cardboard. We had no cardboard where I worked, and the owner asked me to go and spend 2 weeks at the landfill to pull out the cardboard out of the landfill, see where it came from, and then go to that business the next day and say, well, we can recycle that. This is in 1992, right? Yeah. So we've come a long way, a long way since that. But there's more put on market than we can use now. So it's a different structure. Yeah. But we just need to, especially in the plastic space, we need to be able to, the flexible plastic space, we need to be able to get a circular outcome and get the market to be nice and strong and robust.
And talking about the massive changes, even though we feel like we're not doing enough today, hearing your story, we've come a long way back in the day. So where do you see this evolving? Where do you see this going in the next 10 years or 20 years? What do you think?
I think we're going to get a dramatic change again. I think if you look back, there were some targets set up from 2018 to 2025, and those targets weren't met because it was all done under a voluntary arrangement. And anything that's going to cost people money, they won't do. Right?
It'll be voluntary.
They won't be voluntary, right? So you need it to be mandatory. So if these mandatory requirements are implemented this year and going forward to, say, 2027 start, we'll see a massive change in the sector, especially in the soft plastic sector. Maybe they might go down the path of cardboard as well and into the fibre packaging. But we're also looking at another project where I want to take beverage cartons, I want to take the quick service restaurant containers from McDonald's and KFC, and I want to take coffee cups and turn that material back into facial tissue. I want to turn it back into paper towel because it can be done and is being done overseas. So I think by 2035, let's make a date, 2035 we'll get back and have a chat, and I think it'll be completely different.
Well, look, for both my case and my sake and your sake, absolutely I want that to happen. Yeah. And I think 2035 will be different and 2045 will be different still. It's evolving, right? And I look back and I think when I was growing up, I certainly didn't hear this. I don't even think many households had a recycling waste in there.
Yep.
We just had one bin and you just chucked everything in the bin and took it out on a Tuesday or whatever it was. So I think everybody's already being more conscious, talking about it a lot more. We did ourselves an audit before, and one of the things, not necessarily about recycling, but one of the things, because we don't have a big footprint.
Yep.
There's just office staff, and we do have a recycling bin. But one of the things we did in our events is we just got rid of the carts. Yep. We said no carts, and people can book a cart if they want. Yep. But before we used to ship carts in and give it to everybody. I thought, you know what? And when you do that, you still charge them for the cart. So we just took it out and said no carts for medical certificate or carts upon request. And you won't believe how many people actually asked for a cart. Not even half a dozen.
Yeah.
Because it's not included. They go, I don't know what, I don't need it.
I'm happy to walk.
I'm happy to walk. Because they say, oh, look, you can pay an extra $50, get a card. And they're, you know what? Yeah, I'll walk. And in one fell sweep, we've just got so much emissions be taken out of this, our little, our processes.
So you're doing your little bit. Everybody
Little
is
bit,
doing a
exactly.
little bit.
Don't give people a card when they play golf.
Correct.
But there's a little thing, and then of course we do a little bit. We have a few things we do for our energy bill. We get some credits, and we do when we fly, we try to get some credits. But they're all small things.
Yeah.
But that's mainly because we don't have a physical location. Like we're not an actual golf club. We just run events, and also we don't actually manufacture or anything. Like there's not a big footprint.
But if you
Not in our businesses who do it, right? They've got big staff. Yeah, they've got a lot of manufacturing or operations and logistics.
But the perfect example of that is that if you're doing it, why can't others?
Yeah.
Right? You've started the ball rolling. You've turned around and gone, it's not a big footprint for us, but we're going to do a little bit.
And everybody is
If everybody does a little bit, it becomes a lot. Right? And that's what the most critical thing people want to take away from this conversation is if you do a little bit in whatever you do, everybody does that, you'll end up with a big outcome.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So look, that's a great kind of takeaway for businesses. And I feel like, whether you're large enough for it to be mandatory and you got to write it in your annual report, or even if it's non-mandatory, like just for your own self, like it's good to create that discipline within your business.
100%.
And create that culture, because that then helps the planet.
Correct.
Helps your great-grandchildren.
Correct. And that's what it's all about. Right?
Beyond,
Yeah, right? So we do that, we might not see those things after 20 or 30 years, but it's a good grounding. And then we can turn around and they can take it on and they'll do what they like with it, I get.
Yeah.
Things might be different, who knows? But, we can't predict that sort of thing. But, it's a matter of if everybody does a little bit, we can all end up with a big outcome.
So Darren, you keep talking about this and capturing hundreds of thousands of these wrappers. How do you actually go about doing this? Because it's so small and it comes inside a big garbage bin.
So what we're doing is we're working with SPSA, which is a stewardship program, and we're supplying the resident an orange bag, and it's a singular bag, and that they take all their scrunchable soft plastics from the household, whether it's confectionery items, whether it's frozen food packaging, all of the packaging that comes in soft plastics, pop them into the bag, tie the bag off, put it into the bin. Now, in some instances, like in New South Wales and Queensland and others, this program hasn't started yet because we're just getting the system working in Melbourne. But within that period of time, that's where we want to go. Because one of the issues we have right now is we have the lack of trust, that we've lost that trust in the community because of the red cycle, and people were really taken back by that, and we lost that trust. But also we have a situation where we have the occasional two bins putting into the one for some reason or another, and they're seen, and people say, see, that all goes to landfill. Let me assure you, everything that comes to APR recycling is recycled.
Yeah. Amazing. So the orange bag, that's so interesting. So every household will get one of these orange bags.
That's the plan. It's a work in progress. We've got 6 councillors in Melbourne. There's a couple in regional Victoria. There's a couple in regional South Australia. But there's also other programs along the north coast of New South Wales. That one's called the Kirby program, which is a subscription program. Which enables you to, if you want to be able to be in the recycling process, you can turn around and be involved in it. But overall, that will grow and develop, because if we need to get to this 133,000 tonnes a year, which is a massive aspiration that I have, it's going to take a lot of little 1%ers.
Absolutely, that's amazing to and these are all great initiatives and they're small steps, but in 10 years we'll be sitting here saying, oh my God, that's an amazing initiative.
That's the plan.
Like how you talked about the 1992 versus today, and that's exactly what happens.
Correct.
Darren, it's been so good chatting with you, learning so much about what you do, and what a very interesting topic, and some great insights for business owners as well, like of taking that step, whatever it is, however small, it's still in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having me.